Dr. Olivia Martinez stared at the screen, her eyes wide with disbelief. The signal pattern repeated again, too precise to be random cosmic noise. After 15 years working at the Global Space Research Institute, she'd finally found what humanity had been searching for since they first looked up at the stars. "John, come look at this," she called to her colleague across the lab. Dr. John Kelly pushed his chair away from his own console and rolled over to Olivia's station. His brow furrowed as he studied the wavelength patterns. "That's not natural," he whispered. "Where's it coming from?" "Near Proxima Centauri. It started 3 hours ago and hasn't stopped." Olivia ran her fingers through her short dark hair. "I've had the computer analyzing it since it began. There's structure here, mathematical sequences that suggest language." The year was 2082. Humanity had established permanent bases on Mars and the Moon, but interstellar travel remained theoretical. Until now, evidence of intelligent alien life had been frustratingly absent despite decades of searching. Within hours, the news spread through secure government channels. Within days, the world's top scientists and military leaders gathered in Geneva. Dr. Martins presented her findings to the assembled leaders with calm professionalism that masked her excitement. "The signal contains mathematical concepts, spatial coordinates, and what appears to be an invitation," she explained. "We believe they're trying to establish contact." General Frank Wilson cleared his throat. "And our response should be." "We respond," Olivia said firmly. "We've been shouting into the darkness for decades." Someone finally answered. 6 months later, Project Frontier was born. Earth's nations pooled resources to build humanity's first true interstellar vessel. The ship incorporated experimental drive technology that had been in development for years, but never tested on this scale. John Kelly, now Captain Kelly, stood in the command center of the U.S. frontier, watching as his crew prepared for humanity's greatest journey. The ship was massive, a mile-long combination of habitat rings, propulsion systems, and scientific laboratories. "Final systems check complete," reported Commander Susan Lewis from her station. "All green." "Engineering reports ready," added Lieutenant Peter Garcia. "Drive systems nominal." Captain Kelly nodded. "Very well. Begin launch sequence." The journey would take 8 months to reach the coordinates provided in the alien signal. Earth watched with collective breath held as the frontier disappeared into the darkness. 7 months into their journey, as the crew adjusted to life in deep space, Ensign Ben Cooper noticed something unusual on the long-range scanners. "Captain, there's a structure ahead. It's not at our destination coordinates." Kelly frowned. "Magnify." The view screen showed a clearly artificial construction, a small outpost floating at the very edge of our solar system. It had remained undetected by Earth's telescopes, perfectly positioned in a sensor blind spot. "Someone's been watching us," Lieutenant Maria Davis whispered. As the frontier approached, the outpost activated. Lights flickered on its surface, and a new signal pulsed toward their ship. "They're hailing us," Garcia said. The view screen changed to show a slender, blue-skinned being with 4 arms and large, multifaceted eyes. The creature spoke, and the ship's computer translated. "Humans, you have advanced more quickly than anticipated. This is concerning." Captain Kelly stepped forward. "We come in peace. We are responding to your invitation." The alien tilted its head. "Not our invitation. We are Zrillians. We monitor this sector for the galactic hegemony." "Hegemony?" Kelly asked. "The ruling power of organized space. They classify species. They control advancement." The Zrillian looked nervous. "You should not have built this ship. The hegemony restricts such technology for primitive worlds." Dr. Martinez joined Kelly. "We developed this technology ourselves. We have rights to our own advancement." The Zrillian made a gesture their translators couldn't interpret. "The hegemony disagrees. They will come now. They will quarantine your world." "Why?" Kelly demanded. "Because you are humans." The Zrillian transmitted a series of coordinates. Go to this trading hub before returning to Earth. Seek allies. When the hegemony comes, the alien's voice lowered. Run. The transmission ended abruptly. The outpost's lights dimmed, and moments later, it vanished in a flash of energy, self-destructed. The crew of the Frontier stood in shocked silence, humanity's first contact now a distant memory, and a new troubling reality taking its place. The journey to the coordinates provided by the Zrillion took the U.S. Frontier 3 weeks. Captain Kelly had sent encrypted messages back to Earth, warning of what they had discovered. The response had been clear: proceed with caution, gather information, and prepare humanity for what might come. As they approached Nexus Station, the crew stared in awe at the massive structure hanging in space. It resembled a giant wheel with spokes extending from a central hub, rotating slowly to create artificial gravity. Ships of various designs docked along its outer ring. I count at least 30 different vessel configurations, Lieutenant Garcia reported. None match any known human design principles. Ambassador William Hayes adjusted his uniform. An experienced diplomat, he had been added to the crew specifically for first contact scenarios. Remember, he addressed the landing party, we represent all of Earth now. Our goal is to establish diplomatic relations and learn about this hegemony. The Frontier was directed to a docking port large enough to accommodate their vessel. As the airlock sealed, Lieutenant Samantha Wright noticed how the station's docking crew kept their distance, watching the humans with obvious caution. They're afraid of us, she whispered to Major Alexander Cole, the mission's security chief. Good, he replied. Fear means respect. Ambassador Hayes led the delegation of 12 into Nexus Station. The interior was a riot of colors, sounds, and smells. Aliens of every description moved through wide corridors. Some walked on multiple legs, others floated, and a few rolled on specialized appendages. A tall insectoid being approached them. I am Station Administrator Creeks, it said through a translation device. Your presence here is unexpected. Humans rarely leave their quarantine zone. Quarantine zone? Hayes asked. We were unaware of any restrictions on our travel. Creeks's antennae twitched. The hegemony has classified Earth as Tier 4, dangerous primitives. Your species should not possess interstellar capability for at least another 3 centuries. Dr. Martinez stepped forward. We developed our technology independently. We have every right to join the galactic community. The administrator led them to a conference room, where representatives from several species awaited. None looked pleased to see humans. A reptilian being rose. I am Counselor Drask of the Hegemony Diplomatic Corps. Your unauthorized advancement violates Protocol 5721B. Earth must be isolated until proper evaluation can be completed. How long has this hegemony existed? Hayes inquired, maintaining a diplomatic tone. The glorious hegemony has maintained galactic peace for over 10,000 years. Drask replied, we classify and guide the development of all intelligent species. It prevents complications. You mean it prevents competition, Major Cole said bluntly. Drask's scaled skin flushed a deeper green. Unguided species often destroy themselves or others. The hegemony ensures orderly progress. While the diplomatic talks continued, Wright and Cole slipped away to explore. Using the ship's translators, they spoke with traders and travelers from dozens of worlds. The hegemony controls everything, a furry merchant told them quietly. Technology transfers, trade routes, colonization rights. Some species wait millennia for permission to leave their home systems. In a secure data terminal, Major Cole discovered something alarming. They're mobilizing ships, he told Wright. A containment fleet headed for Earth's coordinates. The humans regrouped quickly. Hayes argued against the classification, citing Earth's peaceful intentions, but the hegemony representatives remained unmoved. Your species has been reclassified as an immediate threat, Drask announced. A quarantine will be established around your star system. Any vessels attempting to leave will be destroyed. As hegemony security forces entered the conference room, Cole activated a prearranged signal. The crew of the Frontier initiated emergency departure procedures. "This isn't diplomacy," Hayes protested as Cole pulled him toward the exit. "This is tyranny. Apologize to your primitive world," Drask called after them. "Had you stayed in your designated place, you might have joined us properly in a few hundred years." The humans fought their way back to their ship, surprising the station security with their strength and determination. The U.S. Frontier broke free from its docking clamps and accelerated away from Nexus Station, already plotting the fastest course back to Earth. They needed to warn humanity. The galaxy was not empty, it was controlled, and Earth had just become its newest target. The U.S. Frontier arrived back at Earth 3 months after fleeing Nexus Station. Their warning spread quickly among world leaders. An alien coalition called the Hegemony was coming to quarantine humanity, by force if necessary. The United Nations called an emergency session. For the first time in human history, nations put aside their differences in the face of an external threat. The United Defense Initiative, UDI, was formed, uniting Earth's military forces, scientific minds, and industrial capabilities. Commander Lisa Rodriguez, formerly a guerrilla warfare specialist, was appointed to develop space combat tactics. She stood before a room of military leaders, her expression grave. "We can't fight them conventionally," she explained, pointing to holographic displays showing alien ship designs gathered from the Frontier's data. "Their technology is centuries beyond ours, so we fight unconventionally." Her strategy was simple but bold. Use Earth's limited fleet of space vessels, not for direct combat, but for hit-and-run tactics. Small, fast ships would strike from hiding places in asteroid fields and behind moons, then vanish before the enemy could respond. Meanwhile, engineer Daniel Foster led a team working to understand the alien technology glimpsed at Nexus Station. In his lab beneath the Rocky Mountains, he hunched over a workbench surrounded by diagrams and circuit boards. "Their shield systems operate on principles we never considered," he told his team. "They're designed to withstand energy weapons, not physical projectiles. That gives us an opening." Foster developed what he called adaptive shield technology, reverse-engineered from the scans the Frontier had taken. The shields couldn't match hegemony power, but they could absorb enough damage to let Earth ships survive a hit or two, enough time to escape after striking. 3 months after the Frontier's return, orbital telescopes detected a fleet of ships entering the solar system. The Hegemony had arrived. "This is a standard pacification fleet," Captain Kelly informed the UDI Council, reviewing the sensor data. "They're expecting minimal resistance." The Hegemony fleet approached methodically, broadcasting messages in multiple Earth languages. "Your unauthorized technological advancement violates galactic law. Submit to quarantine or face elimination." Earth's response came in the form of Operation Scattered Thunder. As the alien fleet passed Jupiter's orbit, they found not submission but ambush. Small UDI ships launched from hiding places among Jupiter's moons. They fired specially designed missiles, simple in concept but devastating in execution. Each missile contained thousands of metal fragments surrounded by a magnetic envelope. When they detonated near Hegemony vessels, the fragments dispersed at incredible speeds, penetrating shields calibrated for energy weapons. "Pull back. Regroup at Vector 6. Commander Rodriguez ordered as her vessels struck, and then vanished into Jupiter's radiation belts, where alien sensors struggled to track them. The Hegemony commander, expecting an easy victory, found his fleet taking unprecedented damage. 3 of his ships were crippled in the first assault. When he regrouped his forces and pressed forward, Earth's defenders repeated their tactics at the asteroid belt. After losing 5 more vessels and damaging none of Earth's ships, the alien commander ordered a retreat to the edge of the solar system. The first battle for Earth had ended with an unexpected human victory. On the UDI flagship, General Wilson watched the enemy retreat with cautious optimism. "They'll be back with a larger force," he said. "Yes," replied Dr. Martins, "but now we know we can hurt them." And more importantly, they know it too. Across the galaxy, news spread rapidly through trade networks and underground communication channels. The impossible had happened. Primitive humans had successfully defended against a hegemony pacification fleet. On hundreds of worlds, oppressed species took note. If humans could resist, perhaps others could too. The ripples of Earth's defiance were only beginning to spread across the stars, and the hegemony's leaders now faced a problem they hadn't encountered in thousands of years: genuine resistance. The Hegemony Council convened in their grand chamber on Santor, the eldest members visibly disturbed. For the first time in centuries, a pacification fleet had been defeated by a primitive species. "Deploy the Vanguard fleet," ordered High Counselor Vexra. "This human rebellion must be crushed immediately before others are inspired." Admiral Zextor, commander of the Hegemony's elite forces, bowed low. "The Vanguard has never failed in its mission, High Counselor. These humans will learn their place." Back on Earth, humanity prepared for the coming storm. The brief victory had bought them precious time, but everyone knew a greater threat approached. Captain Kelly, now promoted to Admiral, addressed the UDI leadership. "We've received communications from two species, the Nexeri and Tolari. Both have suffered under hegemony rule and offer alliance." Ambassador Hayes nodded. "The Nexeri have provided technical specifications for hegemony warships. The Tolari offer access to their hidden resource caches in the Kuiper Belt." "Can we trust them?" General Wilson asked. "We don't have the luxury of distrust," Hayes replied. "We need allies." Within weeks, representatives from both species arrived secretly on Earth. The Nexeri were tall, graceful beings with silvery skin, while the Tolari resembled large, upright felines. Both brought knowledge and resources humanity desperately needed. Chief Scientist Gregory Harrison led the joint research team. Working with Nexeri engineers, he focused on developing a revolutionary propulsion system. "The hegemony uses fixed navigation patterns," Harrison explained to his team. "Their jump points are predetermined and carefully calculated. What if we could jump anywhere?" The concept seemed impossible, but combining human innovation with Nexeri mathematics, Harrison's team developed a prototype jump drive that allowed ships to make short-range space-time jumps without fixed coordinates. The system was unpredictable and dangerous, but it would give human ships a critical advantage. 6 months after the first battle, the Hegemony Vanguard fleet arrived. 50 massive warships led by Admiral Zextor's flagship. They bypassed Jupiter entirely, having studied the previous defeat and pushed directly toward Earth's orbit. The UDI fleet, now bolstered by Nexeri and Tolari vessels, met them near Saturn. What followed became known as the Battle of Saturn, a turning point in the war. Human ships, equipped with Harrison's jump drives, fought in ways the hegemony had never encountered. They appeared behind enemy vessels, fired, and vanished before targeting systems could lock on. When hegemony ships adjusted their shields, human weapons changed frequency. When the aliens modified their tactics, humans altered theirs faster. They adapt too quickly. Zextor raged as another of his ships reported critical damage. "This violates all combat doctrine." The battle raged for 3 days. The human alliance suffered heavy losses, but the hegemony fleet was devastated. In a final desperate maneuver, Zextor ordered his flagship to push through toward Earth, believing he could still complete his mission even as his fleet disintegrated around him. It was a fatal mistake. Colonel Patricia Richardson, commanding a squadron of small, agile fighters, had anticipated this move. Her ship swarmed the hegemony flagship, using precise strikes to disable its engines. "Admiral Zextor," she broadcast, "your ship is disabled, and your fleet is retreating. Surrender now." The capture of Admiral Zextor sent shockwaves through the hegemony. Never before had a Vanguard commander been taken prisoner, especially not by a Tier 4 species. Under interrogation, Zextor revealed something that changed the course of the war. "The Council fears you," he told his captors. Human adaptability terrifies them. You evolve your technology in months, not centuries. Admiral Kelly studied the information extracted from Zextor carefully. They've been fighting defensively, he realized, trying to contain us, but containment only works if your enemy stays put. The UDI command agreed. The time had come to take the fight to the hegemony itself. Operation Spearhead was approved, humanity's first offensive beyond the solar system. Earth would no longer wait for the enemy to come to them. The hunters were about to become the hunted. Operation Spearhead launched 3 weeks after Admiral Zextor's capture. The UDI fleet, now 30 ships strong with Nexiri and Tolari vessels integrated, jumped to their first target, a hegemony supply depot in the Procyon system. Remember, this isn't about conquest, Admiral Kelly told his commanders before departure. We hit their supply lines, cripple their military infrastructure, and force them to negotiate. The first strike caught the hegemony completely by surprise. In previous millennia, no primitive species had ever taken offensive action against them. The depot fell within hours, its defenders unprepared for human combat tactics. Captain Eric Mitchell led a stealth team aboard the captured station. His mission: access the hegemony's communication network and plant backdoors created by Earth's best hackers. "We're in," he reported after his team breached the central computer core, downloading their network protocols now. His second-in-command, Lieutenant Nicole Cooper, noticed something unusual in the data streams. "Captain, there's a secured archive here. Heavy encryption, marked with symbols I've never seen before." Mitchell made a quick decision. Download it all. Let the analysts back home figure it out. As Operation Spearhead continued, the UDI fleet struck 5 more targets in rapid succession. Each attack was precise, with minimal casualties. The humans weren't interested in slaughter, only in demonstrating their capability to hit the hegemony anywhere. Back on Earth, Nicole Cooper's discovery proved invaluable. The encrypted files contained historical records about the hegemony's founders and their early contacts with other species. "This changes everything," Dr. Martins told the UDI Council as she presented her findings. The hegemony wasn't founded to maintain peace. It was created specifically to prevent certain species from developing interstellar travel. Humans are at the top of that list. Ambassador Hayes frowned. "Why target humans specifically? We weren't even close to space travel when they formed thousands of years ago." According to these records, their founders encountered early humans during a scouting mission to Earth. "Something about us terrified them," Martinez explained. "Our adaptability, our aggressiveness, our unpredictability. They quarantined our entire planet and have been monitoring us ever since." Word of human victories spread across the galaxy. Species that had suffered under hegemony rule for generations began passive resistance. Some openly declared support for the human alliance. The UDI fleet, growing with each passing week as new allies joined, pushed toward the hegemony core worlds. The once mighty alien coalition began to fracture under the pressure. Several member species declared neutrality, removing their ships from the conflict. "The hegemony is collapsing from within," reported Nexiri Commander Selvan. "Many have waited centuries for this opportunity." As the fleet prepared to strike a major hegemony military base, an unexpected message arrived. A direct communication from the Hegemony High Council requesting negotiation. Admiral Kelly shared the message with his war council. "Is this a trap?" asked Colonel Richardson. "Possibly," Kelly replied. "But we've always said our goal was recognition and equality, not conquest. We have to at least hear them out." The message contained terms for a meeting on a neutral world. The hegemony offered to recognize Earth's special status and end hostilities if humans would limit their expansion. Ambassador Hayes shook his head as he read the terms. "This isn't a peace offer. It's a slightly looser cage. We don't want special status. We want equal treatment for all species." The UDI leadership drafted a counter-proposal. Immediate recognition of Earth as a sovereign equal power, autonomy for any species that requested it, and dismantling of the tier classification system entirely. They'll never agree to this, General Wilson warned. Then we keep fighting, Hayes replied. But at least we'll have made our true intentions clear. The counterproposal was transmitted back to the Hegemony Council. The response came faster than anyone expected. An invitation for Earth's representatives to visit Xantar itself, the Hegemony's capital world, to discuss terms in person. The war had reached a new phase. The future would be decided not by weapons, but by words, though no one believed for a moment that the Hegemony had given up all its tricks. The diplomatic vessel carrying Ambassador Hayes and his team approached Xantar with caution. The gleaming world, capital of the Hegemony for thousands of years, was surrounded by defensive platforms and patrol ships. Despite the invitation, tension remained high. Remember, we're here to negotiate, not surrender, Hayes told his team as they prepared to dock at the orbital diplomatic station. Dr. Martinez and Security Chief Kevin Brown accompanied him, along with representatives from the Nexari and Tolari. "I don't like this," Brown muttered, checking his sidearm before reluctantly surrendering it to a scanner. Too many places for an ambush. The Hegemony Reception Committee consisted of representatives from 6 different species. Leading them was High Counselor Vexra, a tall, thin being with translucent skin through which complex organs pulsed with bluish light. "Welcome to Xantar," Vexra said, voice cold despite the polite words. "The Council awaits your delegation." They were escorted through magnificent hallways lined with artifacts from 1,000 worlds. The message was clear: look upon the power and history of the Hegemony and know your place. The council chamber itself was a vast amphitheater where 24 representatives from the ruling species sat in tiered seats above the speaking floor. Hayes noted that many seats were empty, evidence of the fracturing alliance. High Counselor Vexra took the central position. "The council recognizes the human delegation and its associates." The dismissive tone when referring to the Nexari and Tolari wasn't lost on anyone. Hayes stepped forward. "We come seeking peace based on mutual respect and equality. The time of classification and suppression must end." The negotiations began tensely. The Hegemony offered concessions they considered generous. Earth would be reclassified as a partner species with limited expansion rights. Other species would remain under the tier system. "Unacceptable," Hayes responded firmly. "We seek freedom for all, not privilege for ourselves." While talks continued in the chamber, Security Chief Brown grew increasingly uneasy. The guard rotations followed too precise a pattern. Certain corridors were suspiciously restricted. During a recess, he slipped away from the delegation's quarters to investigate. In a secured communication room, Brown intercepted messages between military factions within the Hegemony. "They're planning to detain us," he reported back to Hayes. "There's a coup forming within the council. Hardliners want to resume the war at full force." Meanwhile, Dr. Martinez had been granted limited access to the Hegemony's historical archives, a gesture of goodwill from Vexra. What she found there confirmed their worst suspicions. The original encounter with humans was over 12,000 years ago. She told Hayes urgently. A Hegemony exploration vessel landed in what we would call ancient Mesopotamia. They expected primitive tribes but found organized cities, agriculture, written language. Humans were advancing too quickly. Martinez pulled up ancient records on her tablet. They've been interfering with Earth for millennia, engineered plagues, manipulated conflicts, even triggered climate events. They've been deliberately suppressing human development. When negotiations resumed, Hayes confronted the council with this evidence. "You've violated your own laws of non-interference. Humanity wasn't just classified. We were actively sabotage." The chamber erupted in chaos. Several council members demanded verification, while others called for the humans' immediate arrest. Vexra struggled to maintain order. In the midst of the uproar, Brown's communicator buzzed with an urgent alert. "Military ships are moving into position around the diplomatic station. We have minutes to get out." Hayes stood tall despite the shouting around him. The truth is now public. Your lie of benevolent guidance is exposed. We offered peace as equals. You chose continued oppression. Remember that choice in the days to come. As guards moved toward the human delegation, the station's lights flickered. The Nexari representative smiled slightly. Their own operatives had created a diversion. Now, Brown ordered, activating an emergency extraction beacon. The human delegation fought their way back to their ship amid growing chaos. Throughout the Xantar system, military vessels loyal to different council factions began taking positions against each other. The long, stable hegemony was tearing itself apart from within. As their ship broke free from the diplomatic station, Hayes watched the capital world receding. "We came seeking peace," he said quietly. "Instead, we've triggered a civil war." The truth about humanity's suppression would soon spread to every corner of the galaxy, changing everything forever. The hegemony civil war raged for 6 months across 100 star systems. Ancient alliances shattered as species chose sides or declared independence. Throughout this chaos, Earth's forces fought selectively, targeting only military assets that directly threatened allied worlds. Captain John Kelly stood on the bridge of the upgraded U.S. frontier, watching as another former hegemony battleship signaled its surrender. "That makes 17 this month," reported Lieutenant Garcia. "This group is requesting asylum and offering to join our coalition." Kelly nodded. "Direct them to the processing station at Proxima Centauri. Ambassador Hayes will determine if their intentions are genuine." The war was ending not with a decisive battle, but with a gradual collapse. The hegemony's central authority had fractured into competing factions, none strong enough to maintain control over their former empire. On Earth, the Global Council chamber hummed with activity. Representatives from 28 alien species had gathered to discuss the framework for a new galactic organization. The Galactic Concordat will be founded on 3 principles, Ambassador Hayes announced to the Assembly: equal rights for all sentient species, non-interference in cultural development, and mutual defense against threats to peace. Many former hegemony worlds had already signed preliminary agreements. Even some conservative factions, seeing the inevitability of change, sought to negotiate terms of cooperation rather than face isolation. Admiral Zex Tor, once the pride of the hegemony fleet and now a respected advisor to Earth's military, addressed a group of his former officers. "I fought humans because I believed in the natural order the hegemony maintained," he told them. "I was wrong. There is no natural order, only fear disguised as tradition." He displayed tactical recordings from the human-led campaigns. "Study their methods. Remember their adaptability. And if you ever again face humans in combat, my advice remains simple: run." The final peace conference took place aboard Nexus Station, the same trading hub where humans had first learned of their classified status. Now the station served as neutral ground for the emerging Concordat. Dr. Martinez led a delegation of scientists from a dozen worlds. Together, they established the Interspecies Scientific Coalition, dedicated to sharing knowledge rather than restricting it. For too long, advancement was controlled by fear. She addressed the inaugural meeting. The hegemony believed that restricting technology would prevent conflict. History has proven them wrong. Only through cooperation can we truly progress. Earth had changed too. Once isolated in its solar system, it now served as the central hub for interstellar commerce and diplomacy. Ships from across the galaxy docked at the massive orbital platforms constructed above the planet. Cultural exchange flourished as humans welcomed visitors from hundreds of worlds. In what had once been the hegemony's restricted archives, Captain Kelly and Ambassador Hayes walked through halls now open to researchers from all species. "The hegemony feared us because they couldn't understand us," Hayes said, examining an ancient artifact. "Human unpredictability terrified them." Kelly nodded. "They tried to predict and control everything. When that failed, they had no backup plan." "And now?" Hayes asked. "Now we build something better," Kelly replied. "Not based on control, but on choice. not on fear, but on respect. In distant corners of the galaxy, stories spread about the species that had broken the hegemony's 10,000-year rule. Some tales exaggerated human abilities, claiming they could read minds or predict the future. Others focused on their remarkable adaptability and innovative thinking. But all stories agreed on one point. Humans fought fiercely against oppression, yet showed mercy to those who sought peace. They protected their allies with unwavering loyalty and treated former enemies with surprising fairness. 6 years after the first contact with the Zrillians, humanity had transformed the galactic landscape. The classification system that had kept species isolated was dismantled. Worlds that had never communicated now shared knowledge and resources freely. Standing at a viewport in Earth's new Concordat headquarters, Dr. Martins and Captain Kelly watched ships from 50 worlds departing on a joint exploration mission to previously uncharted regions. "Do you ever wonder what would have happened if the Zrillians hadn't warned us?" Martins asked. Kelly smiled. "We'd still be here. It might have taken longer, but humans don't stay contained for very long." 10 years after the formation of the Galactic Concordat, Earth had transformed from an isolated world to the center of a new interstellar civilization. The anniversary celebrations brought representatives from over 200 worlds to the Sol system, many visiting the birthplace of the revolution for the first time. Admiral John Kelly, now gray at the temples but still commanding the respect of the Concordat's united fleet, stood aboard the observation deck of Harmony Station, Earth's largest orbital platform. "Hard to believe it all started with one mysterious signal," said a voice behind him. Kelly turned to see Dr. Olivia Martinez. The years had been kind to her. She now directed the Concordat Science Division, overseeing research that would have been forbidden under hegemony rule. "Sometimes I wonder if the Zrillians knew exactly what they were starting," Kelly replied with a smile. Below them, Earth gleamed blue and green, its orbital space filled with vessels of all shapes and sizes. The planet had become a symbol of freedom throughout the galaxy. "The last hegemony holdouts surrendered yesterday," Martinez said. "The Rigel system has finally joined the Concordat." "Peacefully." "Yes. They saw what happened to the military junta on Proxima V last month. No one wants to face human Marines anymore." A small delegation approached them, led by a familiar blue-skinned, four-armed figure, a Zrillian, but not the same one who had first warned humanity years ago. Ambassador Kirzan. Kelly greeted with a respectful bow. "Welcome to the anniversary celebrations." "Admiral Kelly," Dr. Martinez, the Zrillian returned the gesture. "My people wish to present something to Earth, a confession of sorts." The Zrillian handed Martins a data crystal. "This contains the complete records of Zrillian observation of Earth. We monitored your world for the hegemony for 3,000 years." Martinez accepted it with surprise. "Why reveal this now?" "Because you should know the truth," Kirzan replied. "The signal that your Dr. Martinez detected, it was not random. A faction within our observation team deliberately sent it." Kelly's eyes widened. "You wanted us to find you." "Some of us had watched humans for generations. We saw your potential. The hegemony was stagnating, corrupted by power and fear. We believed humanity might be the force that could break their control." The Zrillian's multifaceted eyes gleamed. "We were right." The revelation spread quickly through the Concordat leadership. What had seemed like chance, a lucky detection of an alien signal, had been a deliberate act of rebellion by a few Zrillians who had seen in humanity the spark needed to ignite change. That evening, the grand celebration began. The newly completed Concordat Assembly Hall in Geneva hosted representatives from hundreds of species. Many had once been bitter enemies under hegemony rule, but now worked together as partners. Ambassador William Hayes, his diplomatic skills still sharp despite his advanced age, addressed the gathering. 10 years ago, we discovered we were not alone in the universe. We also discovered that freedom is not guaranteed. It must be fought for. The hegemony believed that control brought stability. We have proven that cooperation brings both stability and progress." The assembly hall erupted in applause. Species that communicated through light patterns flashed brilliantly. Those who expressed emotion through scent released clouds of approval. Later, as the celebrations continued, Security Chief Kevin Brown, now General Brown, approached Kelly with a secure tablet. "The exploration fleet just returned from the void beyond hegemony space," he said quietly. "They found something unexpected." The tablet showed images of massive, ancient structures floating in deep space. Preliminary analysis suggested they were millions of years old, far older than the hegemony itself. "There were other civilizations before the hegemony," Brown explained. "Advanced ones. Something happened to them." Kelly studied the images carefully. "Another mystery to solve." "And possible threats," Brown added. "The galaxy is bigger than we imagined." Dr. Martinez joined them, reviewing the data with scientific curiosity. "We'll need to assemble a research team immediately." Kelly nodded, looking out at the celebration. Species from across the galaxy united in peace and common purpose. Whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them together. "The hegemony feared the unknown," he said. "We'll explore it instead." The Concordat had its challenges ahead, but humanity had found its place among the stars, not as conquerors or subjects, but as catalysts for a new era of galactic cooperation and discovery.